Hello. You are watching an informative video to learn more about an English word. Perfect. P-E-R-F-E-C-T. Perfect. Definitions of perfect. Adjective. Having all the required or desirable elements, qualities, or characteristics, as good as it is possible to be. Perfect.
What's up, everybody? My name is Liam. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I'm here with the fantastic DW.
What's good, beautiful people? My name is DW. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs. And Liam and I, we've been kicking it since elementary school, y'all. And you are listening to What's Perfect Really podcast.
On this podcast, we talk about moments in music and the impact that those moments had on our lives, our friendship, and the entire world around us.
And our mission to bring light to the perfect moments in music we think deserve a little more appreciation. And today,
what's up today?
What's up today?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Erykah Badu.
Okay.
The song On and On off the Baduism album.
Okay. Her first album.
Yes, the first album. And I'm going to make a case why this is a perfect moment in music for me. So let's get into it.
Okay. I'm curious to hear.
Every time we say let's get into it, I'm like, there should be music here. There should be some sort of climactic thing that happens. Hey, Liam, on the production side, what you think about that?
I'll come up with something, some very interesting sound effect, some like wipe noise.
Oh no, don't Kanye West me.
Space lasers.
The lasers. So what's this song about? On and On is about the world keeps turning. This is my interpretation, right? No matter what happens, what space we exist in as people, and specifically Erykah is existing in these different spaces, dealing with her own turbulence in her life. And the song is about dealing with that turbulence and the world essentially not caring. Mm-hmm. The world keeps spinning no matter what kind of turbulence I'm in. And Erykah's telling the story of the turbulence that she's facing. And you see that within the video. And you hear that you hear that in the lyrics on the song.
So that's a huge, like, topic, deep topic.
I guess so. I'd like to think that I'm not that deep, but clearly in my music selection is always some deep stuff, whatever.
When you picked this one, was it immediately this one, or you like, I want to pick an Erykah Badu song, and which one should it be? Okay, I'll pick this one. How did the process go? Was it song first or artist first?
Well, I thought artist first, definitely. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, what was the most impactful? Maybe when I think about the year. Okay, so the song is released in 1997. Mm-hmm. And so I think about the space and time where I'm at.
Young DW.
Say what?
Young DW.
Yeah, I think it's middle school DW.
Okay.
Right. And I remember I was in my house, and I have 4 siblings, and we were all living together at that time.
And that house was not very big.
Well, actually, it was 2 stories, 1, 2, 3-bedroom house. So it was we were kind of doing things.
That was
there.
A 3-bedroom house?
Nah, look, I moved like 12, 15 times when I was a kid. So whatever house you saw. Which one are you talking about? You talking about townhouse?
Townhouse, yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about the house.
Okay, because I remember like a super bunk bed setup that was like you guys maximize the efficiency of space in this like kid's bedroom. It was like, I was like, wow, that's a lot going on. That's very different than my bedroom.
No, but I was born the only girl. So what was very important in my family was me having my own space, which I really appreciated. That was a value. My mother was very specific about certain things. Mm-hmm. And that was one thing that she was very specific about, that I needed to have my own space. So there would be 4 boys in a room. Yeah. And it'd just be me in my own room.
Oh, you have your own room separate from them?
No matter where we went, I'll have my own room.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So I had my own room, and I always appreciated that. But I had four siblings, mm-hmm. and we would have people over the house. And I remember, and the TV was always going. It was always going. So, kids, chaos all around, mad noise. And the music video On and On plays. Mm-hmm. And for
BET, MTV, do you remember like how it popped up?
I don't know, it could have been
just popped up.
VH1.
Okay, VH1.
And it popped up. And for a moment, everything just got quiet in the house. Everybody started watching TV. And however long the song was, people watched the TV.
Mm-hmm.
When the song went off, we kind of looked at each other and was like, that was cool.
This moment of tranquility.
Yeah, and then chaos ensued.
Badu.
Right. So when I think about the word tranquility, On and On brought a little bit of tranquility in my life. And when I think about now flashing back at the video in those moments, having more clarity and more words to be able to describe my feelings, looking at Erykah, it wasn't the first time I saw a head wrap, but it was the first time I had saw that kind of energy on a screen, or witnessed that kind of energy on a screen, and relating it to The Color Purple because the video was tied into that. So it was something that was familiar for me. The Color Purple was very familiar for me, to me. And then seeing Erykah Badu walk through this video, for those of you who haven't seen the video, check it out. We'll leave the link. But Erykah is a housekeeper, and it's similar to, she's a housekeeper for a Black family. What looks like it's just in the South. There's a juke joint in the video too. So it's telling a story similar to Suge Avery's in certain ways, but it's kind of have these different nuances and these different tales. But what made it so unique is that growing up, being who I am with like being in my body and my complexion and all that stuff, I was always raised that when you go out, you represent all of Black people, all Black culture. So when you go out, you better look your best. You better do your best.
That's a lot of responsibility.
I mean, that's Black people every day, So here we are. So look your best, do your best, don't be messy, all that stuff. And I remember seeing Erykah in mud singing. Yeah. And that imagery really stood out to me because I think as the young person who was looking at it, I was like, that's amazing. This person is free. That's what freedom looked like to me. To be able to be in mud and to sing. And I didn't know that that's what freedom looked like to me until now, when I watched the video and I think back to that, being that young person. I want to be free like that. So On and On was definitely, there are so many other songs that are so brilliant that I love by Erykah Badu, but On and On, I think, was a pivotal moment for me. And I didn't understand the lyrics. So now, as we go into the lyrics, we're both finding out that, damn, we were listening to some stuff and we didn't even know we were listening to some stuff.
It just went right over our heads.
For real. Before we get into all the rest of the perfection of the song, something perfect that happened in your week since the last time we saw each other.
All right. So I am afflicted by the thing that a lot of people are afflicted by, where when it's time to watch something, you open up whatever streaming app it is, and then you just scroll through all the options, and then you just turn it off, right? Because it's like, okay, you can't decide. So I came upon this movie called Shooter with Mark Wahlberg. Oh, that movie is fucking awesome. Such a good movie. That's my unexpected surprise.
Is that the with the Don't tell me. Let me get it first. don't say anything. I'm gonna get it. Is that what M'Baku from Wakanda, the co-star?
I'm trying to think if there's any Black people in the movie. I think
there's no Black people in the movie? Nah, this is the different movie I'm talking about then.
Yeah, I feel like there's... Oh, Danny Glover is in the movie. He's Black, but he's like evil Black.
Okay, all right.
But it's a great movie, and I didn't expect it to be so good. And I was like, 10 minutes in, I was like, holy shit, this movie's awesome. I'm blocking out this 2-hour block to watch this.
Yeah. That movie, that teenage movie I was telling you about? I mean, the teenage series? Never Have I Ever, I think it is.
Oh, yeah, I watched that. Yeah.
With Devi? That's the name of the main character?
Jesus, sounds fucked up to say. Like, what ethnicity is she?
Indian.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yep.
Oh, it's fucking amazing. Okay, anyway. So
listen, teen romance, I'm all for it. Angst, Ajita, whatever it is, I like all the high school movies.
Perfect moment for me. Yes, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go to, thinking about my injury. I did a recovery mile for the first time.
Achilles injury.
Yes, Achilles. So it's a very rare injury, not the Achilles tear, but my injury, because I tore my Achilles in September. Then, had 8 weeks, had surgery, had 8 weeks, walked into physical therapy, walked out, and then tore it again.
Wow.
So I had a double tear on a single Achilles.
Is it like the same injury that Kevin Durant had or different?
It's the same injury that Kevin Durant had, but twice.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. So it's very drastic without Kevin Durant money.
Yeah, exactly.
And health protocols and all that stuff. So I'm on year 4. So year 4, I didn't walk for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then year 4, now I'm doing a recovery run, which is great. I ran up a full mile.
Mm-hmm.
My lungs were burning, and I was on a track with a whole bunch of, there's a college lacrosse practice, rugby practice happening. And I was doing, my recovery mile looks like I walk for 100 meters, then I run. I'm not going to say run. I do like when you see older people jogging down the road, getting their exercise in.
Yeah, like power walk.
I'm in the old person shuffle. Like, it feels like a run to me, but it looks like a walk to everybody else around me, right? Yeah. But I was getting it in. I had some swelling in the Achilles, but I was able to go. My calves are burning, but I'm really excited to have that. Dope. To have that back.
Like, it's a milestone that you were striving to get to.
Right. It's a huge, huge milestone. And how somebody sees you and they keep saying, still the injury still. Yeah. And it's like, homie, I'm almost 40 and it's a double tear. It was terrible.
This is a devastating injury. No.
Devastating. And then when you tell somebody I didn't walk, I had to be assisted in walking for over a year. Jeez. It's wild. And when I think about it, it's wild. But I now have so much love for my younger self that played basketball at an elite level and was just this elite athlete. Mm-hmm. Now that I'm older. All right. So that was definitely a perfect moment for me. Good. Let's get into this perfect song.
Okay. Erykah Badu. Okay. On and on.
Why is the song perfect? So first of all, let's just talk about Erykah. Why Erykah Badu is amazing. Mm-hmm. I think an amazingly well-rounded artist. Has a theater background and comes from a hip hop background.
That's crazy.
So it was just really interesting. So say what?
That's crazy. I didn't know she rapped.
Yeah. Yes. So was a rapper first.
Wow.
It's interesting. I was watching this BET Cypher. I think Erykah, now that when we're taping this, Erykah's birthday is somewhere around, or ironically, around the time of this recording. So, which I thought was ironic as well. And they show a BET Cypher with the remix of Brandy's Wanna Be Down, and Erykah Badu's rapping in it.
Oh, so she actually is spitting.
Yeah, she's spitting Erykah Badu like bars.
Okay.
That's what I would call Erykah Badu like bars.
Okay.
Right. But go check it out, and you decipher what, when you listen to it, I think it reminds me of Snoop.
Yeah.
Where Snoop spits Snoop like bars.
Yeah, it's like the Snoop personality over the music more than just like some like crazy punchline. Like, it's not about that. It's about like the experience of
exactly. So you're getting this experience that Erykah is giving you, and you're like, okay, that's some Erykah Badu bars right there.
So quick, Erykah Badu, another hip hop element of Erykah Badu that I saw while researching for the song. There's a producer named Jay Dilla, who's like a very famous like boom bap producer, sample all the stuff. So he taught her how to sample and make beats on an MPC 2000. So MPC 2000, for those that don't know, that's the old school drum machine from like, I'm sure it came from the 80s, but it was heavily featured in the 90s as the beat making instrument of choice for like New York 90s era hip hop.
So is the MPC 2000, what's the difference between that and an 808? Is that the same thing? Like what is happening here?
Okay, so 808 is like an actual sound. That's like
okay.
Boom.
Does that come from the MP3 2000, the 808?
No, I think that's actually a good question. I don't know where the term 808 comes from, other than maybe it's the frequency, but I feel like that frequency would be too high. So I don't know where the title of that sound comes from that is 808, but MPC is like an actual piece of equipment that you mix like a piano is. Whereas the 808 is like saying like a C note. It's an actual sound that you hear, like a tambourine.
That comes from whatever machine is facilitating that
Correct.
sound.
Yeah. There's anything that's going to make a beat is going to have an 808 somewhere there.
Okay. Making sense. Thank you for the breakdown. So interesting when you watch, there's so many different interviews and stuff I've watched of Erykah Badu as well. And one of the interviews is this 2-hour long interview, and they're sitting on the couch, and Erykah plays On and On.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really dope about it is they have it on vinyl, and then Erykah puts it on. There's two turntables on, and I thought it was just this interesting setup.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, y'all got 2 turntables out here, and they're like, oh, do you want to play the song? And then Erykah goes to play the song, and I'm like looking at Erykah's fingers, and she does a scratch before she doesn't just, it looks like a habitual scratch.
Yeah, like
on the record. You know, somebody who scratches regularly, or does like, you know, what is it called? The backspin, where you pull it back.
Yeah,
right. Someone who looks like they're real comfortable behind turntables. And I was looking at, Erykah's really, really about hip hop, because when I see those things, and I've been to an Erykah Badu concert, super dope, and it's just on the drum machine doing her thing or whatever.
Yeah.
So when I watch it, it's just that little nuance of how comfortable Erykah is on the turntable. Just really, it resonates for me how much hip hop is a part of, like, a heartbeat inside of her, part of her epicenter. So let's get into when On and On was written. So On and On is written in 1997. It's on the album. I mean, it's not written in 1997, but it's on the Baduism, Erykah's first album.
Yep.
That's released in 1997. So here's two interesting things, like 2 songs, how they were built, and I thought it was very interesting. Erykah was working with this person called Free, and they were a duo, kind of a rap duo. Erykah rapped before this, and Free would send Erykah these beats, and Erykah would send raps back. And one day Erykah decided to send a song that she was singing on back, and that song was Apple Tree, and people liked it. So then Erykah writes, that's the first song that Erykah ever written where she was singing Apple Tree, and it's on the Baduism album. Dope. And that song is dope too. So then Erykah writes On and On. Second song she's ever written singing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And
at least this is how I know the tale to be. And someone, gets in touch. This record person is like, oh, this is a vibe right here. Get me in touch with this person who wrote the song, who's singing it. Doesn't believe that Erykah's singing it. Asks Erykah to sing it over the phone. Erykah sings it over the phone. Then the producer is like, okay, cool. Can you perform that? Can you open up for Mobb Deep and Biggie Smalls tomorrow? Wow. Right. And it's what I also think is dope about it. Erykah's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It was, hold on, wait, I got to get ready.
Yeah.
It was the stay ready so you don't have to get ready mentality. And so On and On from Baduism is opening for Mobb Deep and Biggie Smalls.
Yeah. And,
Erykah was saying that it wasn't when they're asking how the crowd received it, they liked it.
Yeah.
They liked it. And so imagining that atmosphere, I'm thinking to myself, that has to come from a person who embodies and understands hip hop to be able to understand the nuance of a crowd in that sphere.
Yep.
And to be able to give On and On to that crowd and for them to receive it.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was a really, really dope story of how On and On came to be. Go ahead.
I think it is. And I think that there's a delineation point in like this period where you have Lauryn Hill, Erykah Badu, later on, Alicia Keys and other people, where I think like that's where you start hearing R&B artists who probably mainly grew up listening to hip hop, and they're like of that ilk, but they have this talent and this music ability that transfers all the way in. Of course, they love R&B too. And I just think it's the first time you really hear this, like these artists who completely organically infuse hip hop in a way that a layman may not be able to tell, but somebody that's a hip hop fan will totally pick up on the nuances that are included in this R&B neo soul music. That prior to these times, I feel like wasn't it. Like there would be like I know Mary J. Blige is obviously very like hip hop influenced R&B, but there's like a new schoolish version to like Erykah Badu that I think there's a delineation that happens. It's like Lauryn Hill, Erykah Badu, and then Alicia Keys.
I mean, I think I want to throw India Ari in there because I think India Ari does some really creative things with hip hop music, the nuance of the play off hip hop within the music that India Ari creates. And maybe we'll get into that. So I'm not going to get into it too much now.
Okay.
Maybe I'll choose a song that I'm thinking about for India, but I want to include India because I personally feel like India doesn't get enough love too as well. But yes, so in that era, and when you're talking about, I think there's a specific sound that adopts and borrows from hip hop that flows into that R&B sound, and it creates this new sound. You know, where you're talking about the D'Angelos and what they would call neo soul. But what I love how Erykah describes it is that my sound is no sound. You know, it's whatever sound it needs to be or whatever sound I'm creating, because as an artist, it's never going to be the same. So if you need to categorize it, people categorize it for their own comfort. But my sound is not neo soul. My sound is my sound.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Just not being afraid to make sound, to make noise, and to create the things that I want to create. And that's how you get something like On and On.
Yeah, I think like when I think of Erykah Badu through her entire career, she's never come across as somebody that like chases a trend, or it's like a unique person and is very true to herself. And you feel like you're listening to an Erykah Badu song in music, not so much like you're listening to R&B or, you know.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that. And I think when you think about certain things, or when I look at certain pieces of artistry that Erykah creates, I notice a lot of people that they copy whatever the trend that Erykah is on. And so I think that it's, when we talk about that weird people, right? So when Erykah would have been considered a weird person, you know, when I was coming up, because Erykah was, you know, about whatever Erykah need. If Erykah was talking about food, Erykah was talking about food. If Erykah was talking about getting your mind right, being on a different vibration, it sounded very foreign to a lot of people in the mainstream culture. And so I think there's the weird we don't fuck with that person type energy, and then there's a weird of
stay away from type of energy.
The weird we can't fuck with that person kind of energy. Like we don't fuck with that person, and we can't fuck with that person. And I think Erykah is we can't fuck with that person. They up there. Like don't fuck with Erykah, that kind of thing. So
Erykah Badu like always seems cool. Like there's never a moment where I think of Erykah Badu and like, wow, that was kind of awkward, and like, damn, that was a bad look. I don't think I've ever seen that happen.
You know, it's interesting too, because when I think about the controversies, you know, they sound like controversies that most controversies are things that Erykah has said, and it sounds very much from the era that Erykah grew up in. So you'll say one piece of, there was I don't know the exact story, but there was a mix up with R. Kelly when Erykah said, "I'm gonna pray for R. Kelly," and people were like,
really?
"What? This dude is a monster!" Right? And a lot of backlash came from that. And this, I don't know when this was. This must have been. It could have been maybe at least 5 years ago, maybe. I don't know. And there was a lot of backlash for that. But it was before the Surviving R. Kelly, maybe, I think. And people don't understand why Erykah would say something like that. And then in the article, Erykah was saying that there's something called restorative justice. And I thought it was interesting because now restorative justice is this real big buzzword, you know, woke folk.
I don't know what it means.
So restorative justice is a critical framework, right? It's a critical framework that comes from, it was created in the 70s or 80s, depending on who you talk to, that says when the critical framework states that when harm is done to a person, then all those who are involved or created that harm are allowed to recreate the space and the conditions for them to recreate the space and the conditions for them to address the harm with all parties in the room. So meaning that if I harmed you, and then other people were impacted, we discover who those people were impacted the people who are impacted by the harm that was created, and we all get together and we discuss how we want to heal that, how we want to deal with that as a community. So when you're talking about something like R. Kelly, is that restorative justice is in opposition to law and order. So what we know is the European way, which is the justice system, which we know is not true. Mm-hmm. Before the justice system was indigenous circle process, and that was a community governance process, and they shut that down. But then the justice system was starting to get out of hand, especially for indigenous communities. Mm-hmm. And indigenous people, indigenous elders were like, we're going to teach you the ways to show you so we can get our people back, because the justice system keeps taking our people. And this is not how our community works. We create spaces for people to restore and people to come back to themselves and to recognize their humanity. And so from that, the critical framework of restorative justice was created. So first was indigenous circle process, community governance. That was the way of indigeneity and people, as we know, Turtle Island, as people know, as United States. Mm-hmm. That was the way that existed before law and order. But then when law and order came, they shut that down. But then when they shut that down, indigenous people were like, yo, we need our people back.
Yeah.
And they offered circle process. And then the critical framework, restorative justice, was born out of that. But
wow,
this you probably won't hear that story.
Yeah,
but
like
it's
college.
Yeah.
I'm following, but okay. It's just I didn't realize the word carried that much meaning.
Yeah, it's a lot. The reason why I know, because that's the work that I do. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in relationship work outside of here, so I know those pieces. But so when Erykah says restorative justice, it's a concept that a lot of people are very foreign to, because we were raised on an eye for an eye.
Yeah.
So nobody's going to be like, what do you mean get R. Kelly help? What do you mean communal stuff or whatever? Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to get that, because we're so used to, you did this has got to happen.
Yeah.
And restorative justice doesn't say that doesn't happen. Restorative justice says that we as a community agree on what needs to happen in order to address the harm. So that could, in theory, happen. People mm-hmm. could decide that happens, but it's up to the community rather than up to one person, one judge, to be like, I'm gonna do this because this happened.
Yeah.
But maybe those survivors are able to sit in the room after, and these are processes. I'm gonna stop right there.
Okay.
It can get deep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop right there.
Sounds like this is a whole other.
It's a whole other thing.
Not even a podcast. This is like 7-part documentary. Okay.
Right. And we're talking about Erykah Badu right now. So let's not take it away from that. So focus, perfect song, Erykah Badu. Here we are. On and On comes out. 1997. So here's this interesting interview, and I have a question for you for all white people.
Please.
This is very relevant. This. Do not fail. Okay. So I'm watching this interview with Erykah Badu, and she's performing On and On, and she's on this stage. This is the what's that era with Jerry Springer talk show era?
Oh yeah, Ricky Lake, Jenny Jones.
It had to be during this time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like the height of daytime talk
Maury
shows.
Povich.
Yeah, this is when you stayed home sick.
Sally Jesse Raphael.
Shit is crazy. They all fight it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the dad? Oh my God.
You see Jerry Springer fight. Right. So the host, there's this white woman mm-hmm. who's hosting, and the closest thing that I can make of it is she's got this cut that is like Boy Meets World. You ever seen Boy Meets World, the show?
Of course. I'm all there for it. Topanga. I forget all the other characters, but Topanga's it sticks in my memory.
Corey and Sean, the next door neighbor.
Yep, them too.
And Sean is like the heartthrob and got this hair. Oh, it's kind of like the Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Remember, I don't know if you remember that.
This is a 90s
Devon
look.
Sawa, Andrew King. I remember when I was younger, these were the popular, and they all had this one haircut. Yeah. Now, it wasn't the mushroom cut. The bowl, it wasn't that one. Right. But did entirely. And so this woman has the same cut,
Oh, the woman has.
And so I'm going to ask you, the woman has the same cut. Okay. So I'm going to ask you, for all white people at this time in life during the talk show era.
Yeah.
Was there a meeting you all had that was like, this is the cut that we're going with right now, and this is what it's called? Like, do you know what I'm talking about? So
yeah, I associate that cut with like the boy band haircut, but
okay,
I don't feel like that's the official title of it. I feel like there is not a title. I feel like the vernacular for white hair is lacking in a lot of regards. And I don't know if we've come a long way, because I can't even say that. But when you get a haircut as a young white person, you go to a haircut place. You don't go to a barbershop. You don't go to a salon. You go to like the haircut place at the mall or whatever it is. And I feel like you just sit there and be like, all right, cut my hair. And like, you just get a random person every time. It's different.
You leave it in their hands.
There's no guidance from our elders about like what's going to happen. So like haircuts just happen to you when you're younger and white. And
that is I'm sorry, go ahead.
But I'm just trying to think of like, if they must have like figured it out in LA, I guess, where all this like talk shows are happening. And
I mean, I think even on the Ellen show, Ellen had this haircut.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking Friends that Ross or Joey, they probably had this haircut.
Yeah.
The little swoop thing. Woo.
Yeah.
So anyway, this person is interviewing Erykah on this talk show. And it's so interesting because Erykah is very solid, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's almost like Erykah's blackness is uncomfortable for everybody else in the room who doesn't understand blackness.
Yeah.
And you can see this person who's on the show. I don't know where it's at. It could have been in Canada, could have been London, wherever. And they're interviewing Erykah. And they're like, you know, people say your music is something akin to Billie Holiday. And, you know, you have this neo soul music.
Mm-hmm.
And Erykah's kind of saying, I mean, if you think it's Billie Holiday, then that's cool too. You know, that's fine. You know, I just sing what I sing and whatever. And the person's kind of uncomfortable of, I'm not expecting these kind of responses because
that doesn't answer my question. Yeah.
Right. So it's you can see the interviewer, it's almost Erykah has this power to make interviewers uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that's because Erykah is so comfortable with, at least that's the perception I have, that Erykah is very comfortable within her own body. Yeah. And so the interviewer goes on and it gets uncomfortable for me. I'm looking like you look like you're uncomfortable. So the interviewer then goes, so what does Baduism stand for? Did that sound like a really good interview voice?
That sounded really good.
It sounded really good. Okay. So yeah, tell us, Erykah, what does that stand for? And Erykah is like, you know, Badu, Erykah Badu, and ism, because ism is the name for the weed that we smoke in the hood.
This is pre-legalized wood. This is back when weed was like the gateway drug that ruined everyone's life.
Yes. Ism is a name for weed. And, you know, and mind you, you know, Erykah's got the head wrap and burning the incense for the homies and says, yeah, I light an incense for my homie who's in this interviewer looks like they're all out of sorts. And the crowd is kind of, I don't know what's happening here. Yeah. But I think that when I think about Erykah and I think about On and On, it creates that same sentiment of when you look at these lyrics, it puts you in a place of this person is so sure that these things are happening. And when I listen to the song, I'm certain that this is real. Right. So it affirms whatever it is, whatever song or this particular song, it affirms that, oh, my life has importance. And also I see that the world doesn't think I'm important. Yeah.
Where I can relate to this talk show host as a listener. And I later on, I was aware of Erykah Badu when she came out. She has a very like distinct look, especially for someone from my perspective. But I didn't gravitate to her, partly because I felt like I shouldn't be listening to Erykah Badu, because it seemed like she was making her music. Not that she made a statement or anything along those lines that I was aware of, but it just the way that she looked and the way that the music was presented to me, or the way that I received the music, maybe it looked like it was for Black people. And there was no effort on her part to kind of like also make it accessible for white people. It was like, no, I'm making this for Black people. And that's kind of what it's meant to be. And I think the talk show host, like, I guess maybe picks up, that's unfair, not picks up on a vibe from her, but has this feeling that, okay, this person has a head wrap, like, and they don't talk with an accent, like they're from America and they have a head wrap. Does that mean that they're against, like, they want me to stay at arm's length?
Okay, so I think there's many. This is a loaded area, right? Like anything when you talk about
a lot of heat right there.
Yeah, when you talk about any of this stuff, it gets really complex.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to do my best not to explain all the shit, but to think about how I think about it.
Yeah.
Some shit is just not for you.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that, oh my goodness. There's this one person that said, there's two things you can't say to a white person is, and I can't remember the second thing, but one of them is, that's not yours. And I'm trying to remember the other thing. It's, oh man, that's not yours. And something like you can't. Anyway, one of them is that's not yours.
But maybe
like, you can't have that.
Maybe what makes it weird for white people is there's this feeling of, if you're making something that's like for Black people, the way that white people can perceive it sometimes is there's uncertainty. Does that mean it's anti-white? When maybe it's just for Black people, you know what I mean? And it's nothing about white people and their involvement with it. And that's what's uncomfortable or creates this moment of uncertainty for white people. Like,
so, okay, again, so much here. Damn, I wish I remember this quote verbatim, because when I heard it, I was locked in. So so I'm gonna go with this one piece when they said there's two things you can't say to a white person without them. This is when the red everything comes in, and one of those things is that's not yours. And that's when white people absolutely lose it. And I think that's a really great description, because when you say that's not yours, then all of a sudden it's like, I'm taking everything, But what I love about Erykah's music is that it's clear, like, you can try to be a part of this world, but you're always going to be on the outside. There's always, this is for people who get what I'm saying. Yeah. And there's nuance within that. And I think also too, what is interesting when I think about a white cultural lens is that white culture was created out of hatred. The culture was created out of hatred, but it always steals from someone else in order to exist or in order to move itself forward. Right. And so when I talk about white culture, I'm not talking about Polish people or Italian people, or I'm not talking, that's a whole different culture. You had to become white. Yeah. And white culture has its own thing. And white culture is about theft. Yeah. And so when you say you can't have that, Badu is, to me, is saying, when you feel that discomfort, I think it's a beautiful thing, because you can't always have all the things, right? Some things are not for you. And I think another great example of this is that when I was in college, they would use the term Guido for a certain Italian men. And they'd be like, oh, he's the Guido, because we had a lot of people from Long Island. And they'd be like, oh yeah, those Guidos over there. At your school, there's a lot of people from Long Island. Is that what you're saying? At your school? Yeah. When I was an undergrad in New York. And it was a term that I never used. And people was like, why don't you say that? I was like, because that's not part of my cultural lens. Like, it's not part of culturally where I come from. I don't understand the nuance of that word. It's not mine to hold. It's not mine to have. That's for the Italian people that use that word. That's for them to have. And I'm okay with that, because I know who I am. But I think the confusion with white culture is that when you get caught up in white culture, you don't know who you are, because you can't get to keep your Polish culture. You don't get to keep your Italian culture. You choose whiteness. And when you lose that, then all hell breaks loose and you try to take everything from everybody. I see you smiling. What's happening? Well, I just remember I went to Ireland, so I'm Irish American. And when I went to Ireland, I was like, I'm home. Everyone welcome me. And they were like, you're American. Like, don't claim us. And I was like, wait a second. I'm Irish. And they were like, nah, not really. But it's that thought. You lose that. You lose that. And that's what happens when you decide to be white. They make you strip everything that you know without even knowing that you're doing that, and you become assimilated to this culture. So when you talk about the music, and I hear people listening to something Solange, and I see somebody listening to Don't Touch My Hair, and it's a white person, sometimes I look like, you could fuck with this song, but you ain't never gonna fuck with this song like I fuck with this song. And to me, that's a beautiful thing because it's something that we have that can't be taken from us, because that artist is ensured will always have this and you can never take it from us.
Let me ask you a question, not to like keep going over this topic, but like I think maybe I understand a little better. So there's two artists that in the late 90s, early aughts, I secretly liked. I couldn't tell anybody. One was Erykah Badu, and the other one was Dead Prez, the rap group.
Oh, yeah.
So as a white person listening to these music, whatever it is, plural for music, both of these artists, the young Liam, perceived these as artists making music that was for Black people. And I couldn't distinguish, and maybe there isn't a difference, maybe there is a difference. And from your perspective, maybe you've never even thought about it from like the white guy's perspective. But to me, Dead Prez is very explicit, like we're pro-Black and white people are the problem. And our music is very deliberate, explicit, and detailed about that. Where Erykah Badu, in full honesty, I don't really listen to Erykah Badu's lyrics heavily. I more just enjoy the vibe and the energy of Erykah Badu's music a lot. But is there a difference when you hear it? Do you feel like Erykah Badu is more just speaking to Black people and the Black experience, whereas Dead Prez is talking about like political race relations within America? Or do you feel like they're speaking to similar audiences? Or maybe that's a problem for me to work through. Could be that too. Yeah.
I mean, I think yes, and yes.
Sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, you go read up on that shit. But I will say, I will say this: don't burden a Black person. Okay.
I need you to explain this to white people right now. Yeah. Please explain this to white people right now. They need to understand. So there's tons of stuff. I hear you, and do what you got to do with that. Okay.
But I will say this really weird ass moment that happened to me, and this I think might maybe indirectly answer your question. I'm not sure,
right.
But it may not at all. I was at the farmer's market. I go to this farmer sells eggs. Every week I go to the same farmer that sells eggs. Every time we go, we have this cordial conversation. White guy. One week we talk about this show called Yellowstone, a show about indigenous folks. I haven't seen it.
I heard it's good. I haven't seen it either. Yeah.
Right. So they're like, oh, check out the show. I'm like, I'm not going to explain to you the way my bank account works. I'm not saying that stuff. Like, I'm not having that conversation with you. I come back the next week. Boom, I go get my eggs. And as I'm making the exchange, this guy says to me, another white man taken from a Black woman.
That's what the guy says, selling you the eggs?
Yes. This is what the farmer says to me.
Wow.
Selling the eggs, right? And then I say, well, you could give it back.
Yeah,
and I
give
wait.
Me the shit for free, yeah.
No, I wait.
Oh.
And I slowly watch his soul leave his body. And I look for it in the air. Because the reason why I was looking for his soul is because I could see that I snatched it when I said, you could give me my money back.
Yeah.
And then his face got real pale.
Oh, no.
And so I waited for a second for his soul to leave, for him to feel uncomfortable. And I almost was going to laugh.
Yeah.
And then I said, nah, it's all good, though, because I respect farmers. And I know you got to get your money. And this is what I'm going to say. And this relates to the music. When you listen to some music, like when we talk about Erykah Badu, music made for Black folks, when you are doing the work that people call woke work and all this stuff, sometimes, especially white people who identify as liberals, they get caught up in their understanding of what quote unquote wokeness is, when it's a lie. So how I interpret this farmer, someone told you in your group that you were the woke friend that can make these jokes. And every time you made these jokes, probably to another person who looked like me, they said nothing back because it was awkward as fuck. And then you met me. And then you said some off the cuff shit. And I said, give me some reparations, even though this is not reparations. But I said, give it back. And then your soul left your body because you weren't the wittiest one in the room and you found out you were mediocre. Don't be that white person. Moving on. On and on. Erykah is getting in. Now we're in the 1997, which we're talking about the Diggable Planets era. And we're talking about 5%ers, right? And I'm going to ask you again, how would you describe the 5%er?
So I guess the 5%er ideology is very interesting to me. I'm like a big math person, and I just like that it's like explicit math, like right in your face. The thought process is that 85% of the population are basically like sheep. They're like worker bees. They do the heavy lifting. They're the expendable kind of commodity in the human market. And then there's 10% who own and control and kind of have the power and dictate society. And then the remaining 5% are the teachers, and they try to educate the masses on what's going on and try to, enlighten everybody. Then they're beyond just the math part that I went over is a more like pro-Black thing that I know less about. That's my understanding.
I love the way you put it down, because that's my understanding too, right? You have this 5%, and I hear it in the Wu-Tang. What was the first Wu-Tang? Protect Your Neck. Was that the first?
Protect Your Neck, Into the 36 Chambers, that album.
36 Chambers, right? Yep. You hear a lot, the influence in, let's say, the golden era of hip hop was in the 90s.
Absolutely.
You hear a lot of the influence of 5%ers, and I hear this in On and On. And when I think about looking at the lyrics, because I go on, okay, how do other people interpret these lyrics as well, because they may be seeing something I don't see. And I look at lyric genius, and I can see the flow through, and how these there's another place I was looking at to break down the song. So when we get into the lyrics, what I think is really dope about this is that Erykah's talking about stuff that is just on another level in certain ways. And I'm just going to go read in the first part. Oh, my, I'm feeling high. My money's gone. I'm all alone. Too much to see. The world keeps turning. Oh, what a day. What a day. What a day. Peace and blessings manifest with every lesson learned. If your knowledge were your wealth, then it would be well earned. So I already feel right there, Erykah's kicking so much knowledge. So this is, and when I think about 5%, when you're talking about like we refer to Black people as God. We are God. We are walking. Everybody comes from us. And as I start to get into the lyrics, we'll get a little bit more into the lyrics. But when we stop it, if your knowledge were your wealth, then it would be well earned. That lyric by itself is really, really dope. Then when we continue on, and it says, if we were made in his image, then call us by our names. Most intellects do not believe in God, but they fear us just the same. Now, how I read this lyric was, most intellects, people are intellectual. And if you get into conversations with people who describe themselves as intellects, some would say they're atheists. Some would say they believe in evolution and science, and people believe whatever they believe. That's fine, right? I'm not that person to be having that conversation with anybody. But what's interesting is that when I read this, it says most intellects do not believe in God, but they fear it's just the same. When you think about intellects that don't believe in God, when we talk about the 5%, God is the Black person. Most intellects don't believe in Black people, but they fear us just the same. They fear us like we're God. And that to me makes the lyric so deep and so potent. And of course, my middle school self was not hearing that, right? Yeah. I was only hearing this basic layer. Yeah. But my adult self is, Erykah is spitting some shit, and I've only gotten into the first verse. So I'm already landing on perfect right now. This is speaking to my soul. How you feel about this?
Well, I think what's interesting is like you talk about hip hop in the 90s and this 5% thing. It's like God body. Mm-hmm. The rappers are very explicit. When you hear it, like, exactly what they're talking about, what they're implying. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's, right in your face. Whereas Erykah Badu is, you can listen to it and have literally no idea that she's talking about all this stuff. But when you twist your ear to listen to it that way, it's like, oh, wow. It's like, it was right in my face the whole time. And I maybe just didn't hear it. Because I didn't, when I first heard the song, I used to not listen to this song as an individual song, but I listened to the whole Baduism album as like a thing to help me go to sleep. It's like a kind of a consistent chill vibe through the whole thing. And I didn't think about the lyrics that much. But again, researching for the song, you look at the lyrics and you see how tied it is with this 5% ideology. And I think it's dope that she's able to do that. And it's, not make it deliberate, but still make it absolutely clear when you're listening for it.
And also when you listen to the song, there's so much intentionality behind it. So even when you get to this gets into the hook, on and on and on and on, my cipher keeps moving like a rolling stone. So we're starting to get into the issues that Erykah's just talking about in general. Like, damn, if I had, when we go back to that line of, if your knowledge were your wealth, then it would be well earned. Man, if my knowledge, if I got paid for my knowledge, man, I'd be living a life right now. You know, that's how I interpret it. And if people who had money right now got paid for their knowledge, they'd be poor as hell. Yep. Right. So going into that, the cipher keeps moving. It's like a rolling stone. You got to keep going on and on and on. And oops, my bad. On and on and on and on. And then when you get to the last line of the chorus, oh, on and on and on and on. God damn it, I'm gonna sing my song. And Erykah ends with that. There's a lot of repeat lines in this, and which I think is super, super dope. I love when people who are on a whole other level repeat their lines. It's like the same line we were talking about in Zealots. After all my logic and my theory, I had a motherfucker, so you ignorant niggas hear me. It's the same thought of, y'all don't even know I'm in a whole nother plane. I got to repeat this. And even when I repeat this, you still ain't fucking with me.
I know you didn't catch it the first time. So here's it 7 more times before the song is over.
7 more times, 7 more, or however many times it's got to go. Right. And you see these references. I was born underwater with $3.06. And this is the reference. I looked it up. I'm like, wait, because you might laugh because you did not do your math. Like 1, 2, 3. Damn, y'all feel that? There's some things that are happening here. I don't even get that. What you mean you was born underwater with $3.06? What do you think Erykah meant?
Oh, underwater. I'm sure that's means something. $3.06, like broke. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm totally like grasping at straws right now for meaning on this one.
Yeah, this is something that it has to do with numbers, and I think this when we're talking about the 5% Nation. Yeah. This is stuff that goes way deep beyond me. Has to do with 360 cipher, all of this stuff. As I'm looking at one of the lyrical breakdowns, this is one take of it. 360,
like $3 is the 3, and 6 times is 60 cents. So 360. Wow.
Right. So 360 degrees, full circle cipher, and you see these reflections in the lyrics. I probably will sit down with Erykah, man, what were you saying? What were you saying? If we ever sat down and had Erykah's famous, I think it was a coconut kale or something like that, has this dish.
She makes it.
Has this famous dish. Erykah, you ever make this dish for me? I'm gonna ask you, what you mean by that? Right? I'm gonna speak that into existence. So Erykah's kicking all this lyrical stuff. And I'm gonna say bars. Because I think if you extracted this song and you put it to something else, I think these would be bars. Yeah. And and that's how when I look at certain songs, I see them as bars. Oh, you giving us the real right now. And that to me, when I can look at a song and see it as bars, that to me is hip hop. Yeah. In that way. Erykah goes on to say, the man that knows something knows that he knows nothing at all. That to me is one of those lines. Yeah. That's just so potent. It's to the man that knows something knows that he knows nothing at all. Yeah.
And the opposite of that is the person who says they know everything about every little topic is a giant red flag. And you need to push this person out of your life. Yeah.
Right. And so it continues just giving us bars. And as you scroll down a little bit, I think until, what is it? Like the last part, I don't know if it's the bridge or whatever. You know me and my song structures.
Later on in the song, yeah.
Later on in the song, before the closing, I'm feeling kind of hungry because my high is coming down. Don't feed me yours because your food does not endure. That line right there is so strong to me. And when I reflect on it, I'm like, yo, this is so deep. Your high is coming down. You're hungry. And you still like, I'm not messing with your food because your food does not endure.
What is your food?
Say again?
What is your food?
So Erykah, I know Erykah, I believe, has a plant-based diet. So it's just really into understanding what it means to put in food that has deep nutrients or meaningful nutrients within your body. You know, and some people say when you put in animals, you have to kill them before you put them in. And depending on the slaughter, you put death into your body.
Yeah, like how you kill the
food,
animal.
I don't want death. Yeah. That food does not endure. Yeah. That food does not endure. So don't feed me. It's kind of when you go into the kitchen and you say, what kind of mood you in? Mm-hmm. Before the person cooks. Because I don't want angry food.
Okay.
You know, or like, where does that food come from? Who farmed that? Who did this? You know, did you do this with care?
Yeah.
So when I look at that line, it's like, don't feed me yours because your food does not endure. For the type of life I'm living. Go ahead.
This is 1997 too, where it's like, just McDonald's is just like the accepted standard cuisine for like, you know, your food. To be a vegetarian back then was like a weird thing, and I don't even know if vegan was a word that I was aware of at all. So,
right. So I mean, but also, I think that was later. Yeah. So I think that that's very interesting to say your food does not endure. It's not what I'm looking for, and I love that. And then Erykah goes on to say, you rush into destruction because you don't have nothing left. The mothership can't save you, so your ass is going to get left. Yeah. If we were made in his image, then call us by our names. Most intellects do not believe in God, but they fear it's just the same. Now those are the last bars before the song closes out. With on and on and on and on. And when I look at those bars, I think to myself, yeah, Erykah gonna leave me. I'm gonna be here.
I got left.
Like my ass is getting left. What can I do to not get left? Like, what do I need to do in order to be on the mothership? You know, but it had me thinking to myself, like, damn, I want to be on the mothership. Like, how can I get right? What food do I need to eat so I can endure? You know, what's happening. I think was also really dope about the lyrics in the video. When you match it to the video and it has a Suge Avery vibe, is that Erykah's talking about, to me, how I interpret it is, here's all the things that I'm enduring, right? That's the word, endure. All the things that are happening, and you're still moving like it, like my humanity doesn't matter. And Erykah has this moment, like the Suge Avery moment in The Color Purple. And for those of you who've seen The Color Purple, you get it. But Suge Avery has this moment where it's almost she comes to life, because she's the sinner who went on to have this singing career and left the church, and then comes back and says, now you're going to know who I am. And in the video, Erykah is like, nah, you're going to know who I am. Regardless of what I've endured, you're going to know exactly what it is that I have to say. And I think one of the quotes, some dope black femme said this. I don't know if it's R.G. Lord, if it's Alice Walker, if it's Bell Hooks, that Zora Neale Hurston, who was it? But if you are, man, I got to get this. I got to get my quotes down for this.
We got to like write these
down. This is two. I know this is the second one. Well, I want to make a point, and I can't remember exactly the quote, but.
Do you feel like you can paraphrase it?
I'm going to do my best right here.
Okay.
If you are silent, they'll kill you and say you loved it. Something like that. So if you're silent, they'll kill you and say you loved it. And when I listen to Erykah's On and On, even though Erykah's talking about the world keeps turning, but what y'all not gonna do, y'all not gonna ignore my story. Mm-hmm. And that to me is this emboldened thing of, yeah, I'm in my body. I'm doing my thing. Y'all ain't about to be on this mothership. And also, y'all going to get these bars. Mm. And that to me is so perfect, because it's almost like when you live in a world, the world sees me as this black feminine. I'm also, dark in comparison to a lot of people on the colorism scale. When I walk in the world, people see me as certain things, and most of it is just, you better be quiet and you better just get along and move along. And you're subjected to all these different things. It's kind of like, who's the Supreme Court, the black woman,
Ketanji
the Supreme Court
Brown Jackson.
Right. right, is extraordinary. Extraordinary. By all means, right? You can't get anywhere unless you're extraordinary, looking like the Supreme Court justice, and has these extraordinarily whack ass interrogations by these mediocre ass people.
Our baby's racist. Tell us that.
You know what I mean? And it's that same thought of we have to be extraordinary to move an inch. And what is so dope about Erykah is like I'm me, and me as I am is extraordinary. You about to get these bars no matter where I am. I'm moving. Even though the world is spinning, I'm not going to be quiet about it. And when I think about On and On as its entirety as a song, that comes out to me, and it's a very inspiring piece of artistry.
Dope. You want to hear my thoughts on what I really stood out to me on this song?
Absolutely.
So a little bit like you alluded to earlier, the lyrics on me just totally missed me. I got left behind. The mothership passed me by.
Mm-hmm.
Now I learned a lot, and it's very deep. And when I listen to it now, there's a whole different level of appreciation. But I first started messing with Erykah Badu when I wanted to go to sleep. I would play this album with the lights off, the door would be locked, and it was just great music to fall asleep to. Mm-hmm. So when you brought this up, I kind of didn't even realize how many times I've heard this song until I went back to it. And I was like, holy shit, I used to listen to this song every night for like a year straight.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need help sleeping, I recommend this album a lot. Not that it's boring, but it's just, it puts you in a nice vibe, in a nice mood, and you can just kind of like drift off into sleep. The other thing that's really dope about Erykah Badu is, again, like a lot of these artists that we talk about sometimes, like she is a hip hop person, and it comes out in all these ways that are very organic and just happen. And if you're not keen to it, you will miss it, but it's there. And you know, the music part of it, I hear a lot of it. There's the fact that it's live instruments playing this music for her. It's obviously very like, almost like you're in a jazz club or something like that is kind of the vibe you get when you listen to Erykah Badu. But the melody on this one is a very repetitive melody, which is, again, like a sample in hip hop. Even though they're playing with live instruments, it gets that sample energy. And there's this one part that is a sample that they put in the song that I think is super dope, because it's this kind of little horn section that they repeat quickly. And I'm going to try my best to make the sound effect happen.
I'm ready.
I apologize ahead of time. It's like, so it's a really short sample that's looped up. So it actually sounds like kind of one long note or one long noise, but it's really just a short sample looped. And that is something very Mobb Deep, which is like this hard, edgy, machismo gangster rap music that, again, effortlessly and organically shows up in this song. And to me, that's just one of those like subtle tips of the cap that Erykah Badu does that, you know, I'm sure she had a say so in an approval in that exact thing showing up. Because perhaps if a jazz musician, just a straight up jazz musician, showed up and was doing all the music, that never would have made it there. But there's this like homage, and not just homage, like part of the music is this hip hop element. And I think that's dope. I really like it.
What did they have to say on YouTube?
Okay, so the YouTube comments. There are a lot of ones where people, much like we are saying, are like, holy shit, I never knew what the lyrics meant till now that I'm an adult. And I have this whole new appreciation for the song. You have a whole bunch of people that are like, yo, God's body, you know, like the whole 5% thing. And they go on and on and on. But the one that stood out to me is there was this comment, and I'll read it to you. Am I the only 15-year-olds that listens to her music? I love her style so much. And then there's like an edit after this, like a little further down. Obviously, she was replying to the replies that her comment got. And it goes, guys, I know I'm not the only teenager that listens to her music. I just wanted to see how many other teens listen to her music.
Oh my gosh.
Because most teens I know dislike this type of music. So what you have is, and this is a recent comment, it's like from 2021. So you have this really young, sweet, innocent soul that stumbles across Erykah Badu. It's like, holy shit, I love this. This is a vibe. I'm totally into it. And first of all, Erykah Badu's music is timeless. This is from 1997, but it sounds like it could be released at any moment in our musical history. Same thing with the music video. It doesn't seem dated or any of that. Her look, none of it. It just seems like you're experiencing Erykah Badu. But okay, so this comes on. So she makes this statement, and then there proceeds to just be a whole bunch of replies of angry teenagers who are offended that they are also fans of Erykah Badu, and they bully the poor girl or person. I don't even know who it is, but and it's both like endearing and like you're happy that the youth is like engaging in this music, but then you feel bad that they like are like cannibals and they just ate each other alive, and you know, no one can just have a nice moment on the internet.
Right. When I go down to when you said there was this other comment that said this okay guys. As soon as I heard that, it's like, this is not. Yeah. This doesn't sound like it's going to go down the way it needs to go down. It sounds like people are going to come for this person. Yeah. And that's what happened. Ooh.
So young people are vicious. Yeah. It's a tough time to be young, even when you're trying to be like, you know,
just find something in common with people. Yeah.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah, that's wild. So there are a couple things about Erykah. Erykah has many aliases. Erykah also has the Badu World Market. There's many things that Erykah does. And so with that, I have a couple questions for you, man.
Okay, please.
I want to know, On and On, the song, or Tyrone, the song? Which one?
So I don't listen to the lyrics that well. I never gravitated to Tyrone because my very like distant appreciation for that song from afar is that she's like talking about like some hot dude that she wants to like be with. And I just was like, well, maybe that song's not for me. Like Erykah Badu is definitely not for me to begin with, and maybe that song especially is not for me. So I can't say I'm on and on. No, I'm there. Tyrone, I just like avoided. So
yeah, it's a great song, and it's not at all about at least what you saying. I don't know I don't know what you're doing or where you're going with that.
So this is where like I just assumed a whole bunch of stuff, and I robbed myself of an experience there.
You did. You created that experience for sure. So we're back at the Badu World Market. We're online with Erykah Badu.
Her own store, like the Badu.
Yeah, the Badu World Market online. Okay. You can get T-shirts with Badu. You can get all these different things, but there's certain things that you can't get because they're sold out.
Popular items.
Very popular items. Okay. And I want to know, of these sold out items, which one would you, if they weren't sold out, which one would you buy? Okay. The Badu Pussy Incense or the Badu Pussy Candle?
Are there reviews on the marketplace for these items?
That's a great question. If the reviews, I didn't read it, but these items are sold out. So they must be good. Okay. That's enough of a review. They're sold out.
I'm imagining a scientist like coming up with the scent formula, like a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of that. Okay.
No, it's actually Badu's pussy scent.
Wow.
And you know, there's another famous person who did it after Erykah did it. Again, this is another after thing. Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Pussy scent candles. Wow.
It's like, no, I don't know if it's Gwyneth Pussy, but the Badu Pussy Incense and Badu Pussy candles are sold out online. And she says
the P word.
That is called
the item. Is that?
Badu.
Not, okay.
I'm reading it as it is printed.
So this is like Erykah Badu is just like, I'm all up in your face with this. Like, you know, like I'm not making it so that everyone can be accessible to my content, but this is for a specific group.
This is also what I love about Erykah Badu, because I'm existing in my world. Mm-hmm. I'm existing in my world. You could be a part of it if you want to. And apparently people want these incense and these candles. So which one are you buying?
I'm getting the incense because I just feel like if I have the candle like just on my coffee table, that I'll have to explain this to people when they come over.
You know, I think it's interesting because if I had the candle at my house, and I feel people who come over to my house would be like, yo, how'd you get that candle? I've been wanting that shit this whole time. You know, I feel like that would be the experience.
Yeah.
that's happening for the people that I know in my world for the most part, which I think is interesting. And you're like the incense. But so I think that alone is interesting because, you know, this move right here is such a power move because Erykah is just the sensuality and the embracing of the sexuality in a world that tells us not to do that. It's really dope. It's really dope.
I'm putting this on a Christmas list from my family and friends.
Yeah.
Guess what, Auntie?
Give me yes.
Guess what you get for Christmas this year?
So I'm on the list. Give me some Badu pussy stuff. You're at an Erykah Badu concert.
Mm-hmm.
Erykah's done about 45 minutes of a set. And Erykah's about to bring out the first guest of the night, or maybe the guest of the night.
Okay.
Who's the guest you want to see come out?
Andre 3000. Absolutely. Right away.
You knew it right away. Why Andre 3000?
So like you asked me a question. My mind is in Erykah Badu mode. And Erykah Badu has had all these relationships with like the great of great rappers. Mm-hmm. She's a kingmaker. If you like any rapper, not that this is how you should think about Erykah Badu, but it's just like, it's undeniable. Mm-hmm. She has great taste in like men and rap music and creative ability. Mm-hmm. But Andre 3000 is the one, because there's Common, Jay Electronica. I feel like there's another person I can't remember.
Maybe so. Yeah. And they all and the thing is that don't say nothing don't say nothing about Erykah Badu. That's what is coming out the mouths of these people's like Jay Electronica, and anybody say anything about Erykah Badu, you get shut down. Mm-hmm. Like, don't say anything. And I'm like, that's some powerful. They must have the incense. They like that's some powerful. That's a powerful person for you to have these exes, have children by these people, and have this beautiful, what seems like these beautiful amicable relationships. Which
Erykah Badu is pretty unique in this regard, that when you think of other women who have had notable relationship with lots of men in hip hop, they're viewed often in a very negative light, where I feel like no one views Erykah Badu in a negative light with regards to that. It comes across more like that's who she is. She's owning it. And, yeah.
And I think that speaks to the power of the authenticity that comes across through the music and through the art, or maybe the growth in Erykah knowing who Erykah is.
Yeah.
So,
Andre 3000, definitely.
Andre 3000, for sure. What does your dad have to say about Erykah Badu? What's that looking like?
This is really a question for you. Do you think my dad knows who Erykah Badu is? Is she famous on that level? She's been around for a long time. But as we talked earlier, there's like a force field for white people around Erykah Badu. It's like,
yeah, Erykah Badu might not be white famous.
Yes, there you go, yeah.
But it's been famous in my world for a very long time. So questions, I have to have some key questions, because this buzzer that you added is creating anxiety for me. Yeah. And I don't want to hear it. So I'm a little anxious about it, but here we go. Your father, does your father know Erykah Badu? All right. Your father ever watched Soul Train?
We have never had like a conversation that I can recall about Soul Train. I do believe I probably like asked him about it and he explained it to me at one point, but no, it's never been like a.
Okay. Your father own any vinyls?
We had a record player growing up, but there was no vinyl collection. There may have existed records, but this was not like a.
Okay. Okay. Is your father ever burned an incense?
No.
Oh.
We were not an incense household.
Okay, this is not looking good.
Yeah.
It's not looking good. But I'm thinking 1997, Badu World Market.
My dad has been on the website. Damn, it's sold out again.
Like, when you go to your dad's house, there's gonna be a candle. It's gonna be a candle. What? Let's see. I think that Erykah's a vibe. I think your dad knows who Erykah Badu is.
Okay. Here we go. I have a recording of me talking.
I'm mad nervous. My heart right now.
Do you know who the artist named Erykah Badu is?
I do, and yet I couldn't name anything by him. I certainly have heard the name before.
Exactly. Exactly.
He is
Whoo!
famous.
Yo, I'm telling you, this part is like the most exciting part, but it's so anxiety filled. I'd be like, no, don't. This tells my wins loss bracket right here.
But
My goodness.
maybe my dad's answer again speaks to the general point, which is like my dad knew who she was. So like she has a very memorable. She's an artist that when you see or are aware of their, like, they stand out. She stands out. But my dad also was like, I have no idea about any of her content. So,
all right, Liam, here's the moment.
The what?
The most fantastical moment. Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the most fantastical moment. What is the most fantastical moment about this song, this Erykah Badu song for you?
I have this. Hold on. You know, I like wrote it down too. But it's the part of me if I get one of the words wrong or something like that. But it's the man that knows something knows that he knows nothing
At all.
And I think that's just a testament to, like, whenever you're dealing with people and they know everything about every topic, this is immediately the red flag that you need to stay away from. To the fact that I used to have a job where I had to interview a lot of people to decide if we were going to hire them. And when I say a lot, I mean like a lot, like probably in the course of my position, there was like hundreds of people. And I always would notice when someone was too eager to pretend like they knew everything. To me, that was someone I wouldn't hire because it's just impossible. And the smartest people are the most inquisitive people. So that was my most fantastic moment on this one. How about you?
Facts. And that was the moment I was going to pick. And then I saw this line. Don't feed me yours because your food does not endure. So, well, let me attach it. I'm feeling kind of hungry because my high is coming down, but there's a line. Don't feed me yours because your food does not endure. That, to me, is a line that's out of this world, that I know so much about. Like, I have my wherewithal and my wits about me so much that I'm understanding. I don't eat just anybody's food. I eat food that is going to take me to the places I need to go to help me accomplish things I need to accomplish. And there's energy behind food. So much so I'm not putting anything in my body.
Like coconut
and that
kale.
Just told me, huh?
Coconut kale.
Yeah. That's wild. So where can we find Baduism, the album? Where can we listen to this song? We can listen to this on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll definitely include the YouTube link, Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming services you're going to find.
Streaming services, for sure. And also, if you have a perspective or a story you'd like to share that connects you to this On and On song, email us at whatsperfectreallypodcast@gmail.com. Or you can share your story with us on Instagram at whatsperfectreallypodcast. And we invite you to take what you want from the podcast and leave what you don't, because ain't nobody perfect, y'all. Peace.
Hello. You are watching an informative video to learn more about an English word. Perfect. P-E-R-F-E-C-T. Perfect. Definitions of perfect. Adjective. Having all the required or desirable elements, qualities, or characteristics, as good as it is possible to be. Perfect.